Okay, guys, hi, welcome. Wherever you are in the world, I know we have listeners from all over the world today. This is John here from HTD, and I have a great privilege of pulling some information from a good friend of mine. This is Dr. Larry of Nutraorgana. Hi, Larry, how are you doing?
Hello, good afternoon, Jock. It's a beautiful sunny day out there. How about in Mexico where you are?
It's a beautiful stormy day. So if anybody's viewing now, if anybody's going to be viewing later, guys, if we lose connection, then it's an act of God and it's not down to us. Or it could be a satellite problem. You never know. Anyway, Larry, there's been a lot of questions that have come in to the website. People from all over have been asking questions since they saw you last on video, on live chats, etc. And there's a few questions that I want to go over regarding insomnia, but the interesting thing is people are starting to make a connection between insomnia and other issues in their life. For instance, we have a woman in the UK who's contacted us about the menopause, and we also have a guy who is suffering from high blood pressure, and he's suffering from insomnia as well. And so these people have got really interesting questions that we want to put to you so that you can give us some insights. Is that all right?
That'd be my pleasure.
Awesome. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through gently. We'll talk about a little bit about insomnia and how serious it is. And then what I want to do is to bring in some of these questions from the viewers that were before and then have you answer them so that we can actually get a better understanding of them. So Larry, I know a little bit about insomnia. We've spoke about it before, but there's a big difference to people who just have sleep problems and insomnia. Can you kind of explain the two?
Yeah, there are people, the difference between the two is the people that have actually sleep problems are certain people that maybe have a little difficulty getting asleep, or they wake up a few times, a night, but basically, get back to sleep. The insomniac person is a totally different ballgame. There they have an anxiety in getting to sleep. It takes them a much longer time to get to sleep. Many times they don't get more than a few hours before they wake up wide awake and they can't go back to sleep. So it's kind of like a cycle with them to where every night is the same. Not enough sleep, not enough hours in their sleep pattern.
There's a lot of issues that go along with insomnia and the sleep problems. But what I'm kind of seeing is that there's many people are labeling themselves as insomniacs, but I would say that from what we've seen coming in, the questions coming in, some of them have just got underlying conditions in their health that are giving them sleep problems and not necessarily insomnia. Would that be a fair assumption?
That would be absolutely true. There's a lot of physiological problems and health problems and issues that people have that cause them stress and anxiety and not to sleep. There's certain medications that people take that are disrupting their sleep. So there's various factors. People never really addressing their health issues as much as they're taking all kinds of medications to go to sleep. And that's not the answer. We have to address the biochemical and the physical body to get that balanced before we can even address the sleep issue.
This would be interesting then, because we got a guy who'd actually emailed us in and asked us about his blood pressure. He has blood pressure issues. And he says that his sleeping patterns are seriously on and off. Could there be some connection between the blood pressure and his sleeping patterns?
Certain blood pressure medications can, affect the sleep cycle. When you have a high blood pressure problem, I don't know if he's on medication or he's not on medication, but there's certain physiological things that are going on in the body, like maybe kidney problems, liver problems, things that can alter the blood pressure in itself. And he not only know he has this. The body, many times when people have high blood pressure, also sometimes people have what they call histamine sensitivities. And histamine is a chemical that's released in the body that triggers not just allergic reactions in the skin, but even to certain foods that you eat. There are certain foods that are histamine-producing foods, and these foods can trigger a hyperactive nervous system, so where your system is on overdrive, and that can cause an irregular sleep pattern itself, as well as raise the blood pressure.
If Bill's listening to this since the last time, I hope that's answered your question, but before Dr. Larry can give you a definitive answer on it. We would need to know if he's taking any blood pressure medication or anything, you know, that's affecting his blood pressure.
Correct. It's just that people that have these sleep problems, you know, a lot of them after a while, because they're so chronic, they develop a pattern. You know, it's a patterning in the brain. And the brain gets used to a certain pattern, and every day seems to be the same. The brain kicks in at a certain time at night, and it goes into that patterning, you know, of not sleeping a proper full 6 or 8 hours.
That's interesting, because that brings me on to Karen in Wales, who also emailed and asked and said, basically, Dr. Larry, every time before I go to bed at night, I get anxious, and I get anxious that I'm not sleeping and I'm making my problem worse.
That happens in a lot of people, that anxiety, that when they first lay down to go to sleep, they know they're going to have a hard time, you know, to get to sleep. And my advice to them would be, is lay in bed at night and try to stay as awake. Play a game with your mind and try to stay as awake as long as you can. And play that game, say, I'm going to stay awake, I'm going to stay awake, and push your body to stay awake. And what it does, it actually reverses the pattern, and you end up falling asleep.
That's, you know, I've never heard that before, because the minute you tell someone not to sleep, like keep awake, instantly you're going against the whole grain of what everybody is saying.
But it does work. It's almost like a neuro-linguistic reprogramming type program, and you know, you're reprogramming the thinking pattern. But if you do try to stay awake, it's like anything else. Just think, how many times have you stayed up when you're in your high school or college years, you're trying to study, and you put yourself to stay awake, and yet you're falling asleep, but you stay up and you're falling asleep at your desk, and you're forcing your body to stay up to where it's so tired. Eventually you close your books and you just fade out right there where you are.
That happened to me actually when I was in the military and we were on exercise. It was such a difficult exercise at the time, and I wanted to stay up and stay up and stay up, and I remember being in a bunker and I was staying up and staying up and staying up, and eventually I woke up to the sergeant major kicking my ass from behind and stealing my weapon because my body had just whooped.
That's what you have to try to do with the people that have that anxiety. You have to stay up, keep yourself up, and eventually your body will give out and you will fall asleep. And it's actually, you're retraining the patterning in your brain. If you do that enough, you probably will reduce the anxiety. And there's also things that you can take that would help you with anxiety at night as well, some natural things. Things you could take, either a GABA, there's a gamma-amino benzoate, or theanine, L-theanine, which is an amino acid that you could take that would also reduce some of that anxiety that you have at night, because a lot of this anxiety that you have at night is carried through the day. So it's not just something you just get it when you're ready to lay down. It's an anxiety you're harboring in your system, and it reflects in your daily activities. It comes out one way or the other, some of that anxiety.
It's moving on from that anxiety. We also had another question. I think it was from, we see now here, Margaret in Boston, who is, and I thank Margaret for sending this in, because she said that, and you don't normally have a woman say this, she's gone through the menopause and they normally don't like to talk about their personal issues. And she says that she has anxiety, but no matter what she does to try and regulate her system, to try and get some sleep, she is fighting. She's never had insomnia in her life, but because of this menopausal situation, she's continually up, and she said that it's really, really, really affecting her life.
Many of the women, when they reach the menopausal age, they develop the menopausal symptoms of anxiety, restlessness, hot flashes, you know, things of that sort. Many of those premenstrual or postmenopausal symptoms, and it's hormonal. So there's a hormonal problem that's going on, an imbalance that's causing her to have these anxieties. There has to be a balancing of the hormones itself. And sometimes it reflects on what we call the neurotransmitters of the brain. There are certain proteins in the brain like dopamine, acetylcholine, serotonin, you know, and maybe she may have deficiency in one of those neurotransmitters, which is not going to allow for a proper sleep pattern as well. So it's either neurotransmitter or hormonal for that woman. And if you straighten that out with her, she'll sleep.
How does someone like that straighten that side of things out? Obviously, they can go to a doctor, but a lot of people are turning away from doctors, and they're looking for natural solutions. How can they find that balance between their hormones in their body, their testosterone, their progesterone, their estrogen? How can they find that balance?
Yeah, there's ways of finding that out through subjective testing, as well as I do a bio-nutritional evaluation. It's it's a urine saliva evaluation that will give me certain indicators based on the body system of what's going on. It's really not important the levels of your hormones, whether it's high, if it's high, it's just whether it's high or low. You know, people look at percentages like, well, I'm 80, I should be 60. The number is not important. It's just whether it's high or low. And you can also tell by a person's symptoms many times in the neurotransmitters based on questioning. And, you know, if they fill out something, you can pretty well tell where they're headed towards. Even in my test, it'll tell me if their nervous system is overdrive or it's underactive or overactive, and it'll point me towards certain neurotransmitters that may be the problem. And then from there, I'll decipher exactly what's the specific one they're going to need to balance the body chemistry.
What do you think is at the root of people's problems today regarding, I mean, we have women who have a natural imbalance because of this they go through, but then we have guys, you know, we have people that are worried, that are got so much on their minds. But what is the common, because years and years and years ago, Larry, we never had as much of a problem in insomnia or sleep-related issues than we do today.
In fact, years and years ago, in my generation, you know, they even went to a doctor. You know, the only time you went to a doctor is if you, let's say, had a serious flu, you were a child and you had to go back to school. Your mother took you to the doctor. It gives you an antibiotic or a penicillin shot. And you went back to school 3 days later. What's happened over the many years, there's been a lot of changes. There's been changes in the environment, a lot of pollution in the air, a lot of electromagnetic inactivity. There has been a lot of, if you want to believe in what we call chemtrails, you know, these are, you know, certain poisons, and I don't believe the government is spraying them to kill anyone. I just believe it could be from mosquitoes when they spray for mosquitoes, you know, all over. And they do it a lot in the summer. They have planes that spray these chemtrails, you know, to kill bugs.
Yeah, honestly, the fact that you've touched on that is really interesting, because my wife and I the other day went to an orchard and we were getting some apples and stuff. And I'm a big fan of apples and apple juice and that kind of thing, you know. And it's never bothered me. But the woman behind the counter, we were just chatting, and I said, you know, what's your favourite apple that you have here? And she says, I can't take any of them, because if I eat any of these apples, I'm up all night. I can't sleep. I'm irritable. And she said to me that it boiled down to what exactly you said. She said the pesticides that they use.
Yeah, it's not only the pesticides. It's a lot of the food that are out in the markets today is what we call bioengineered, and it's bioengineered by the companies to where they actually change the structure of the preservatives. They just change the whole molecular structure of the food itself to make it last longer on a shelf, and it's very unhealthy for you. The other thing is that there's post-traumatic stress syndromes. You know, things that you undergo when as a child, you know, or as an adult or an adolescent, that these post-traumatic stress syndromes, these different traumas will come out later on in life and also cause disrupting the sleep cycle. There could be environmental allergies, you know, allergies to dust, to pollens, to certain molds that will cause duress and cause you not to sleep as well. So there's various factors why people don't sleep. And some people just have what they call a hypersensitive nervous system, an overactive nervous system that needs to be calmed down. You know, those type A personalities where the brain is like constantly thinking, you know, and they go to sleep and it's like a tape recorder over and over again. They're thinking what they're doing the next day. So there's a lot of factors when you analyze somebody to figure out where the cause is. And you have to actually find the cause of the problem, exactly where it is, to make that change if you want to help that person. Too many people are out there popping pills, whether it be medications, whether it even be natural stuff. And it's got to be more of an exact science. You got to be more specialized and target where you target the cause.
There's a guy that he sent us in a question. He's from California. His name's Chip. Hi, Chip, if you're listening. He said he basically works in the computer industry. He's on all the time, and he has high blood pressure and high cholesterol in his family. And he asked I was quite shocked at the question that came in, because he said if he didn't concentrate so much on his cholesterol and blood pressure, but concentrated on regulating his sleep, would he get the benefit of reducing the blood pressure and the cholesterol as a natural byproduct of regulating his body?
Well, sometimes that if you do not get sufficient sleep, it will raise the blood pressure. But he has to look at his dietary factors, his stress factors, in having this high blood pressure, what his diet is like, what is he eating. And if he's eating if he has high cholesterol, apparently his diet is wrong. Okay,
so
the diet
he's, being in Silicon Valley, he's constantly in front of a computer. It is probably, you mentioned about the EMF connection, and I think many people these days they're always on the phones. I mean, I got the phone in front of me here. We've got laptops, computers. Does that have a factor?
Years ago when we had computers, the old days, they had the screens, with the tubes, they were emitting a lot of radiation at that time. So now they've, integrated, and they've come up to specs where they're doing LED, a lot of LED screens, but there's still, from the computer itself, there's got to be a little electromagnetic fields, that are constantly being emitted itself. And I believe in your eyes staring at a screen. If you're staring at a screen, any screen, long enough with the lights, and it's going to send a reflex back to the eyes, to the brain, and it becomes very tiring. So it can also upset the circadian cycle, the actual rhythm of the brain to sleep.
You mentioned something, and you're talking about the circadian cycle, and I know people who are listening are going to be, they're interested in healthy living, and they're going to say, well, what in God's name is the circadian cycle? So tell us.
Circadian inside them is a rhythm. It's really your brain. It's a rhythm in your brain, and what it is we have different brain waves. We have alpha waves, we have theta waves, we have delta waves, we have gamma waves. The waves that we're really concerned are the alpha waves and the thetas. The alpha waves resonate at a 7 to 12 hertz cycle, and the alpha waves will help promote sleep, and they also help with creativity and relaxation. Theta waves are more for what we call subconscious sleep or subconscious thought awareness, where you can, program yourself subconsciously and go into a deep sleep and program yourself. But the theta waves are the ones that are important, and it's like an EKG. You have these little brain waves, and if you're not getting the right cycle, then the brain's not going to function optimally, and you're not going to get that proper sleep pattern.
So that can also bring you then the brain waves, the alpha, beta, theta, and delta waves. Yes. The benefit of meditation as part of your sleep regime as well. You recommend?
Yes. Another thing to be concerned too is a lot of people don't realize they have it. They snore. A lot of them have sleep apnea. They have it to where they stop breathing in their sleep, or they choke in their sleep, or they're just not getting sufficient air. Even just snoring at a heavy snoring pace is going to disrupt this cycle. They're not going to get a restful sleep. That's why you'll see a lot of these neuroscience clinics that are really busy and booked. People are going in there and they're giving them the little machines with the little cannulas that, with the oxygen that puts a little air in the nose all night long. And they get profound sleep. They sleep better. The muscles relax. They have more energy for the next day. So sleep apnea is a bigger problem than you think.
And people don't think, people actually, that also affects your partner, obviously, because if you're sleeping with someone and they're snoring, it's not a good thing. But someone can't always go to a clinic and say, right, I'm not sleeping, I can't get any deep sleep, and they're going to have to pay to go into a bed with oxygen up their nose. Got to be other ways that we can deal with this, because
the first thing to do is address your dietary habits, and also look at your weight. If you're overweight, you got a lot of weight around the abdomen, it's going to push on the diaphragm, push so it doesn't let the diaphragm fully, inhale and exhale, so you don't get that full expansion of that rib cage, so you're not getting enough air into the lungs. So weight has a big deal to do with sleep apnea. So I think if anybody is overweight, they need to lose the weight. Another reason with sleep apnea is they should not eat after 7:30 at night, no food. Okay.
Why do you say 7:30 is a particular time?
Yes. Also liquids. No liquids, because what happens with sleep apnea in anybody, if you're drinking liquids, you're going to be up and urinating half the night. So every hour or two, you're going to go to the bathroom. Yeah. So you restrict your fluid intake.
Why did you pick, Larry, the time of like 7:30?
I found that 7:30 in a lot of patients is the time when the body, again, does its third cycle. It slows down. The digestive process slows down. That's why if you notice, you see a lot of senior citizens, older people in their 65s and up, all eating in restaurants at 5, 6 o'clock. And you say, why are they eating? And we laugh and we say, oh, they're all trying to save money because it's cheaper during those hours. But naturally, it isn't about saving a buck. It's the body's innate way of telling you, hey, listen, I'm older now. I can't digest my food as well. I want to go to eat, and they don't even know why they're doing it. I want to go to eat early so I can digest my food easier. And so, when I go to sleep, I'll have no problem. And you'll see that a lot of senior citizens, they go to sleep 8:30.
You talk about nutrition, Larry, and I know that you're an expert in nutrition. So I want to ask, because you're talking here about the time we digest and everything else, which brings me to another question that really comes from myself. It's not Andy's coming in. Is there's obviously certain foods you get told don't take coffee after a certain time, etc., etc. But there must be, it seems to be that there's more to do with your nutrition and your sleep than anything else. So how do you with your clients that have sleep issues, how do you balance their nutrition out? How do you actually find what the nutritional problem is?
I'm going to answer two questions, one you didn't ask. I'll answer the first one. I do the bio-nutritional eval, which is, we said before, is a urine saliva test. Yeah. And from that, I can see how you digest your food, how you absorb your food, the pHs, how your gut issues are, how your mineral salts are, how your carbohydrate metabolism, which is your sugars. And basically, I can decipher from that exactly how your body chemistry is working on a daily basis. And then I can prescribe, and I'll also pick up organ stresses and other values as well to determine exactly where your body's out of balance. And then I will give you specific remedies to balance those imbalances. Now, the second part of the question, which you didn't ask, was this. What do I advise my patients with sleep? This is very interesting. I found this to be so effective. I tell them before bed, about 1 hour before bed, here's the key. Have a protein shake. Like a rice protein or a plant protein, just a protein shake. A protein powder with water, and drink it an hour before. And you're saying, why is that? Because protein contains what? Amino acids, right? What are the neurotransmitters we spoke about of the brain composed of amino acids? And what you're actually doing is you're feeding the brain with a whole supply of amino acids and proteins to stimulate those neurotransmitters. And I find that everybody that has a protein shake an hour before bed sleep much longer and much sounder, and they feel much more relaxed in the morning.
Wow, I've never heard of that before. That's an amazing tip.
Yes, that's a big tip.
That's an amazing tip. So we've got a bit of a heavy storm that's going to be coming in, and we'll probably lose the signal. So I want to just...
I hear the static. I hear your static. I hear the static.
I want to tidy up a bit, but we're going to be back doing a lot more of these questions when people send in, and we're going to be talking a lot more about different health issues. But give 2 top tips to our listeners and our viewers that they can do now. I mean, I know they can come to you for an evaluation, and I know you'll see them privately, or you'll talk them over. But 2 natural tips that they can do right now, other than the protein shake before bed, that they can actually try to change the sleep pattern.
I think what they can do is, well, first of all, they should not have any stimulants. No stimulants. That means coffee, tea, chocolate, any sugar after 6 o'clock. And number 2, go out and purchase some kava kava. K-A-V-A, K-A-V. Kava kava is an herb, and you could take take about 1,000 milligrams on an empty stomach about an hour before bedtime. And the kava kava will begin to calm down the nervous system. So it's going to begin to chill. You'll begin to chill and mellow, and it'll work on relaxing the nervous system. It'll also relax the mind. It'll give you a better chance in having somewhat of a better sleep pattern.
I want to thank you for spending the time with us today. And I also want to say to everybody who's listening or viewing, get in touch with us. The more questions that we have, the more answers that you can give out. And you've had amazing tips today. I love protein shakes, and so to have that, have a protein shake. My only thing is bring back banana. That's what I'm saying. Bring back banana, because you can't get banana protein shakes here in the US. But have a protein shake before dinner. Get kava kava, which is another tip that I've never heard of. So, I mean, the more questions, guys, that you bring in, the more you can find out about it. And if you want to get in touch with Larry, how do they get in touch with you?
They can contact me on my email at drlarrydirect@gmail.com. That's drlarrydirect@gmail.com. Or they can call me at 1-888-490-5464. That's 1-888-490-5464. Be glad to help.
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's Dr. Larry talking to you today, giving you tips on all the different issues that happen with sleep problems and insomnia. And really, we're only scraping the bottom of the barrel. Get your questions in, send them in regularly so that we can bring you more tips on all aspects of health and nutrition from Dr. Larry and Nutraorgana. God bless everybody, and I'll see you soon.
Good afternoon, everybody. Have a wonderful day.